Hey, what's up, y'all? This is Lewis Speaks 2023, and today I want to talk to you all about self betrayal. What does it mean to betray yourself? It means to go against your own feelings, values, principles, and beliefs for the sake of another person, another mission, some job that you have. You're basically turning your back on yourself and how you feel in order to please another person. And many of us, we're good at betraying ourselves. We're good at letting ourselves down for the sake of another person. We call this being self sacrificing. We call this so many things, being a good person, being a nice person. But really, this is not being a good person. This is not being a nice person. What this is our tendency to try and seek validation from other people. Self betrayal also is a learned behavior. Where do we first learn how to betray ourselves? Where do we first learn not to trust ourselves? We have to go back in our childhoods, analyze our relationships with our caretakers. Oftentimes, we've been praised and celebrated when we go against our own feelings, when we go against our own boundaries for the sake of someone else. Oh, you're so good when you don't honor your need for rest. Oh, you're so good when you don't honor your need for love and support, and you're constantly pouring into everyone else around you and not getting the same pour back into you. you know so this is where we learn how to betray ourselves. And I know in my faith, as a Christian, I've learned numerous times, and I'm not going to demonize the scriptures because I realize that they are beautiful. They definitely help protect you. But there have been some scriptures that celebrate your self-denial. We're oftentimes asked to deny our own selves for the sake of Christ or for the sake of someone else. We're always taught, I know Philippians, it teaches you how to put someone else, their needs above your own. But we fail to see the scripture where it says, love your neighbor as you love yourself. I focus on that because for some people, self-love does not come naturally. For some people, self-betrayal comes naturally. That's their go-to. That's their MO. That's their trauma response. They respond by betraying themselves. They fawn. If you look at all the trauma responses, they have four of them. Fight, flight, freeze, and fawn. People oftentimes fawn. And what that means is that they self-betray. They are people pleasers. They're always trying to seek validation from others, and they find themselves always letting themselves down in order to please another person. And I know that this was me. I am a recovering people pleaser because growing up, I used to always put my needs on the back burner. I used to always center everybody else's needs under the guise that I was being a good boy. I was the good boy. I was the selfless individual. I was the righteous one, And I realized that constantly doing that created a cycle of resentment deep within me. There would be times I would be sitting across from friends and their heads would be buried in a phone, and I would look like, what are they doing? There was no genuine connection, but rather than speak up about it, I remained silent. I remained silent because I didn't want to jeopardize the connection that I felt was partially there. I didn't want to be seen as needy or desperate or clingy, so I just stayed silent. And I realized that by doing that, I created this war inside myself, where I projected that onto them through resentment. And I realized the thing about that is, I was looking for connection, right? And the thing about it is the people that I was looking for connection from, they were already gone. See, when they were buried in their phone, they were already gone. And so the opportunity for connection was already lost. But I held on to this possibility of connection. There was always the possibility that someday they would show up for me. Similar to my father. And once again, you trace it, trace it, trace it, trace it, trace it. It's that abandonment wound. Where did you learn to abandon yourself? You learn to abandon yourself from how you were abandoned. You know, in my case, my father, he left when I was 3. He abandoned me. So my first lesson was how to abandon myself. You know, you start to feel as though you're not worth love, you know, and so that causes you to self abandon too, you know. So this is why I didn't speak up. I was afraid that I would be abandoned again. I was afraid that they would get angry at me, they wouldn't like me, and then they would leave me, you know? But the thing about it is, they already left me. I just didn't know it yet, you know? It's like they were figments of my imagination just sitting before me, these holograms that were already gone, right? But it's like I didn't know it yet, you know, and I kept on trying to cling to the possibility, to the fantasy, you know? But as I grew older and grew up and grew more mature, I realized that, you know something, when you don't speak up about how you feel, the opportunity for genuine connection is lost. Because how can you be genuine when you don't like what's going on at the table? You don't like it when someone's head is buried in their phone and they're not paying any attention to what you're saying whatsoever, you know? So the connection, the opportunity for a connection is already lost. All you're doing is co-signing poor behavior. And when you co-sign poor behavior, you get more of that behavior. You also get a lot more of internal resentment and hidden resentment deep within yourself. And so it's important that you speak up. It's important that you don't allow other people to just get away with poor behavior, because that's how you self-betray also. When you let people get away with disrespecting you, when you let people get away with talking to you any kind of way, you in effect teach them that this behavior is okay. You teach them that it's fine to just do anything to you. And that's not fine. That's not okay. And you have to, for one, set that boundary, you know? So the thing about it is, we oftentimes self-betray because of past family wounds, past family transactions. How did your family of origin initiate you into this club of self-betrayal? Because we're not born betraying ourselves. You know, this behavior is taught. This behavior is a learned behavior, you know, and it's reinforced with positive reinforcement. Every time we betray ourselves, we get praise, we get validation, we get compliments for being so selfless, you know, and it's an illusion, it's a myth, it's a lie, you know, because quite frankly, it's not a good thing to keep on putting yourself on the shelf and ignoring your needs. It's not a good thing to just dismiss yourself and dismiss your feelings for the sake of somebody else. It's not okay. But in this society we live in, it's oftentimes celebrated and praised. And you know, when I was younger, I was so afraid of looking needy and desperate. But I realized something. And this is a message for all those out here who are ever accused, erroneously accused, because sometimes you got to do your work and see, are you in fact being a bit extra? But when you determine that you're not, sometimes people who don't have enough will oftentimes accuse you of being too much. I always realize that I have always been overqualified for the relationships that I've been in. The care and concern, you know, I do need a higher level of care, and that's because I give a higher level of care. But a lot of people are just not qualified to give that level of care. And rather than say that, what they try to do is project their own feelings of inadequacy onto you by accusing you of either being too much or not enough. But it's not that you're too much or not enough. They just don't have the skill set. Because to be honest, to care these days is a skill. I'm going to say that again. To care about people these days is a skill. And many people don't have that skill set. They don't. And so rather than trying to acquire that skill set, rather than trying to ask people what they need, they just project blame and shame onto another person. And you can't buy into it. Realize that you are overqualified. Realize that you are someone that is skilled in the art of caring. And this is why you should never betray yourself, because if you continue to betray yourself, what's going to end up happening is that your ability to show genuine care and concern to other people will begin to lessen. It will begin to wilt and die. Your motivation to care about another person will become extinct. You have to keep your heart pure. You have to keep it fresh. And this requires you to be honest with yourself. Radical honesty. And that's just basically you just sitting with yourself, not caring about what anybody else will think about you, and just really getting real with yourself. Realizing the ways in which you have betrayed yourself. How have you betrayed yourself? How have you let yourself down? In what ways have you let yourself down? In what ways do you continue to let yourself down? I know for me, when I don't speak up about the way that I feel and honor my feelings, that is a form of self-betrayal. And then I oftentimes come home where I engage in personal warfare with myself and then beat myself up for not speaking up about how I truly felt about something. And the thing about it is this: you will not always be liked as a result of you speaking your truth. In fact, other people will downright despise you because, for one, they're jealous. A lot of times they've been forced to accept certain realities and they don't have the courage to stand in their convictions. And so they want to sit here and blame and shame you, but that's just them projecting their own guilt and their own lack of courage and their own feelings of shame onto you. And when you refuse to self-betray anymore, you're going to get pushback. Other people are not going to like that. They're going to try to keep you stuck in this box because you're breaking free. You're no longer the person that they could keep underneath their thumb. You're no longer amenable to their control. And when you're no longer amenable to a person's control, they want to get angry. They want to try and initiate these tactics to try to get you back. You have to be vigilant about no longer betraying yourself. Stop betraying yourself. Stop betraying your own needs. Start telling your truth, because you have to get real with yourself. We live in a day and age now where we are waking up to many, many hard truths. We're also doing our work. We're healing from wounds, intergenerational traumas. We're healing from a lot of different things. And we're waking up. And part of waking up is getting real with ourselves. And that's not always going to be a pleasant experience. It's going to be fraught with a lot of lost friendships, a lot of conflicted relationships with family, friends, lovers. You're going to have to let a lot of people go in order to self-preserve. You're going to have to do that because a lot of people, they're just not ready for the healing journey. They're just not ready for the truth. They're not ready to respect you and honor your boundaries. So you got two choices. Either you continue to self-betray, or you break out of that cycle of self-betrayal and move into being your most loyal, your most faithful confidant, and your most honest. I guarantee you, being this person, your most loyal and faithful confidant, will yield many, many blessings, and you will begin to attract people who are meant to be in your life, as opposed to people that only like the fantasy of you, people that only like the aesthetic as opposed to your content. Because there's a lot of people in this world that like your aesthetic, how you look on the outside, how pleasing you are, your image, how your image fits in with their image, how your representatives are compatible. A lot of us are walking around with compatible representatives, but we're lying. You want to be loved for the truth about who you are. You want to be loved for your honest, most authentic self, because that's what's reality. Who wants to be loved for an image that you continue to portray? Eventually the mask will fall. That's why there's so many divorces out here. That's why so many friends are breaking up nowadays, because you met this person's image. You met their representative and they never bothered to remove it. They never bothered to take it off. And you saw glimpses of their real person, but oftentimes those glimpses were ignored, weren't really factored in. And so you fell in love with their image, their mask. But there's but so long we can keep a mask on before it just comes crashing down. You have to begin to get real with yourself. And that starts with being honest, not betraying yourself, speaking up when you see something that's not okay. The person you're sitting across from, they're always buried in their phone. Can you do me a favor? Can you put down the phone, please? I think that's very rude. I want your undivided attention. The same way I'm giving you my undivided attention. I value the connection. You make it very clear, how you feel. And if people can't respect that, well, then you get up, you walk away from the table, and you invest your energy in finding people that can respect you and that can honor, because that's how you honor yourself. I honor myself by continuing to walk away from what does not honor me. And I get up and I move in the direction of the people that do honor me. That's how you honor and value yourself. So please stop betraying yourself today. Honor your boundaries, do your work, love yourself, check in with yourself often. Learn that no is a final answer. No is a response. It's no. It's non-negotiable. No is your aegis. No is your sword. You have to protect yourself with no. And so I hope this video was helpful for you. I hope that you can benefit from it. Please like, share if you feel like it's something that you resonate with. All right, y'all. Peace.